Okay, so in theory, we are now live. In theory.
We are now theoretically live. Hello, welcome everybody. Hello everyone at home. This is me, Dave.
I'm Ben. Probably.
Yeah, definitely I can confirm it. And we're going to be playing some Gold Aims. What I meant to say is some old games.
Some gold. We're just gonna play. We're gonna play with gold. We want to buy your gold. The apocalypse is coming, and we need coin. We need currency.
I've been watching anycar.com as well.
Yeah, I've been watching some very old videos by Glenn Beck, and you know what? I think he's got some very interesting ideas. Give me your gold.
I've now donned my headphones and switched off my speakers, so less of an unpleasant echo will take place.
That's a plus. I keep looking at... I've been staring at the intro to the Commodore 64... One of the Commodore 64 versions of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for the better part of, I'm gonna say, 15 to 20 minutes. I'm glad that it loops, because my worry was it will play the intro once and then jump straight into the game, which I think one of the Amiga versions does. And
always a concern.
Yeah, and I say one of the Amiga versions because... this is a game that got ported to the Amiga twice by two separate companies for two different markets, and that also happened, I discovered, with the Commodore 64 version. There are two distinct, discrete versions of the Ninja Turtles game. One that was developed by, I believe, Ultra Games is the European version. I may be wrong, but there's the Ninja Turtles version that was developed by one company. Which I think was... I'm scanning the screen looking for any indication, and there isn't one. There's the American version, which was called Ninja Turtles, and then there was a version for the UK market, which was called Hero Turtles. God. But both Ninja Turtles and Hero Turtles did get released in the UK. This is USI, who are Unlimited Software.
Unlimited Software,
There's no ends to how much software they will make. Are they still in business? I will look it... I won't look it up. But I'm guessing the answer to that question is no. I'm not... Enter password from... This might... Okay, I'm going to press enter and hope that this is a pirated copy of the game that isn't going to cry. Because this has happened to me on a stream before. I accidentally downloaded the... for the Amiga, the original retail version of Monkey Island 2... And it was asking me how to make a voodoo doll. I was like, I don't have the code wheel for this anymore. It's gone.
Probably not.
How are you doing?
How am I doing? Oh, all right. You know, good as can be. I'm basically well, apart from the ongoing condition that forces me to take an immunosuppressant that forces me to remain locked indoors for the next number of months. But apart from that, pretty much good.
That's pretty much good.
Yeah, it is pretty much good. I kind of turned it into a joke about it not being, but it actually is. I'm fine.
Marvellous.
Yeah, the people I know so far remain uninfected and cheerful, so that's okay.
Just maintain that basic level of okayitude.
Exactly. So it looks to me more or less as if the game has started. I'm watching it on a very low frame rate and at something of a delay. Yes. It started. Brilliant. It's turtles. It's turtles. It's turtles. Look at the turtles.
Look at them. It's one turtle.
It's one turtle.
Now, this has the same issue that the Amiga version of TMNT has, which is that there's only a one-button joystick here.
Yes.
And rather than go, let's press up to jump, what they've done instead is you tap the fire button to use the sword, and you hold it for a little bit to do a jump. It's not a long hold, but it's long enough to be annoying. And I've now nearly killed this entire turtle, so I'm going to see if I can swap him out for one that isn't in a state of imminent death. This is how good I am at your basic Ninja Turtle game. I've nearly killed Leonardo.
Yes, although I don't think surely they're just lives, and you don't have to swap them out before they die.
They do have different weapons with different abilities. For example, Donatello has, I would say, the best weapon in the game. Because he has the most reach.
Well, yes, there you go.
He
vitally important. And tremendously interesting as well.
Yes, and this guy is trying to kill me, which I guess is kind of his MO. I can't be upset with it. I just collected a pizza that really Leonardo should have been eating, but what can you do? I can't be upset with a what's the word I'm looking for?
I don't know.
An assassin, hired assassin, a hired gun without a gun. He just has a sword. Who has been hired and or has just been told as part of his typical day-to-day to kill me specifically. I can't be upset with that because he's just doing his job. Now, my thing might be, don't do that, please, and I have to stop him. But I can't be angry with him for.
I think you can. I think you're allowed to be because he may claim he's only following orders, but you're still allowed to object.
But here's the thing: maybe he's not claiming that. Maybe he's actually very into it.
Then all the more reason to be annoyed with him.
Yeah, but I can't, hate him for doing something he loves, even if the thing he loves involves my imminent demise.
You see, I think you can, and I feel that we both find ourselves in a similar situation to that right now.
Oh, that's true.
I have.
Oh man, this.
I admit some dislike for our overlords at the moment. What's that?
This is awful. This is the worst version of this boss fight I've ever done.
Right. Well, would you like to skip to the other version of the game, perhaps?
I did it. No, I did do it, but dear God, I have 0 HP right now. There is nothing. There is no gas in this tank.
So I have a history with this game, which I'm going to. By the way, we've been asked what system this is on. This is the C64.
Yes.
My version of this game was the Spectrum version, and I have never played it, which is an odd statement to make. But what I had was the demo that came on an issue of, I want to say, Sinclair User. Although it may not have been. It was one of those sorts of things. And I had that demo. The magazine would have come out in what must have been about 1990. And it was very dear to me. And I have this memory that the day... It may have been the day after, or around the time that we got that issue. I was taken for a swimming lesson. Actually, it was a swimming lesson for my younger brother. I was more or less where I was ever going to get as far as swimming lessons go, but he was a bit younger, so he was having swimming lessons, and I was also there because I wasn't old enough to stay home on my own. And I'd been given the go and get on with this task of doing a certain number of widths or lengths or something like that. I think it was widths at this stage, so I suppose I did still have some way to go. But the way that I got through this ordeal, because it was really quite a large number of whichever stretch of swimming I was being asked to do, there was quite a lot of them to do. And I'm sure you've all heard that when people talk about exercise and so on, the phrase is no, what's the phrase? I don't know what the phrase is, but the sentiment is that you feel the burn and you push through the burn, right?
I'm sure it is.
It's to continue past the point of endurance, because the initial point of endurance is actually something of an illusion based on the fact that you've rarely pushed through that. And so my method of doing this was that I just imagined that as soon as I got to the other side of the pool, I would be allowed to have a go on my Spectrum tape of the demo of Hero Turtles. It really affected me in quite an amazing way, this game. And I'm not sure why. It wasn't a tremendously good game or anything like that. There was just the fact that I tell you what, perhaps, could it even have been? Yes, I think it was. The first time something that I was deeply, deeply into as the craze of the day became translated into computer or video game form right before my eyes. Up until then, it had always been something where it already existed, something a little bit old enough to already have a game by the time I was, playing games, that sort of thing. So Ghostbusters, for example, it didn't surprise me to learn there was a Ghostbusters game already out by the time I was interested.
Yeah.
But this would have been the first time when there was a level of anticipation involved, and it came out, and I wanted it, and I had the demo. And so, of course, I always have, more or less rejected every other version of it since, because it doesn't conform to the specific colours and shapes that I think make up this game.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Can we take a minute to appreciate Splinter's, quote, words of wisdom that are on the screen right now?
We must save April. We, as in the plural, meaning us, excluding me. You can do it. That's great.
I don't know that that's in the NES version.
No, I don't think I've seen that before.
No, that seems new and a little bit mean, actually.
Yes, I suppose so, but... yeah.
Anyway, sorry, I interrupted your wonderful story about swimming.
I was mostly just sort of wittering on, but I suppose what I was going to say as I take this little Welsh cake here to eat. There's some raisins in that.
Ooh, I haven't had a Welsh cake in ages.
Yeah. Well, I tend to, well, neither have I, because my usual method of eating Welsh cakes is that my wife's mother brings them from Wales when she comes to visit, for she is Welsh and makes them. But no, we've had to make do with whose are these? These are the M&S version, which a friend has dropped off at the door because we are in quarantine.
It's nice to know that people are looking out for you, but also do keep in mind that is not just food.
No, it's not. This is M&S food.
Yes, which is a whole other substrata of food.
This is.
I'm having tremendous difficulty doing jumps in this game because it's such a stupid system. I don't know who signed off on this.
It is made to an all-butter recipe. Well, it's not all butter, is it? Otherwise it would just be a slice of butter.
Yeah.
Made to an all-butter recipe, packed with juicy Vostitza currants, baked on a griddle and flipped by hand. Not just Welsh cakes. Not as good
These are
as
Welsh
the homemade
cakes.
variety. Not as good as the homemade variety made by Abby's mum.
Welsh cakes always looked to me like someone sat on a scone.
That I mean, not just looked. That's I won't say taste, but that's the a flattened scone exactly that.
I've killed 3 of the turtles at this point. It's just Raphael.
Well done.
With his awful reach. He has no reach with his little sigh. What I'm doing is I'm sending a turtle into his death, is what's happening now. When you choose Raphael, you choose death.
Right, so. And then that's it, is it? That's game over.
That's game over. I am going to restart the game, but in the grand tradition of serial ports, which we've been doing now for many years, I will restart the game and try to be a little less rubbish at it. Will I succeed? My solicitor says no. For legal reasons, I'm not allowed to be good at this game. But
is this the solicitor you showed me earlier? That's more like it was like a black ball with a number 8 on it, and you shook your solicitor, and it said no to things.
Yeah, it's a black ball, but instead of having an 8 on the underside, it just say the word no. So I frequently just don't shake it.
It saves time, doesn't it?
It's just easier. It loaded the character select screen, I heard it do the music, and then I think it realised, oh, you haven't got any, and now it's loading something else.
Well, what will it be?
I'm guessing, because I can hear the disk drive for your emulated Commodore... Sorry, no, this is a genuine, real...
The genuine...
What should I put mine... I scored a wonderful 125 points, and I've got, I guess, 3 characters. What should I type my name in as?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean,
hang on. It's tried and true.
Yeah. I mean, bum is the That's. But the reason I hesitated so much there is that the reason most of us typed bum was twofold. Firstly, because it's an amusing 3-letter word that you can put in.
It's one of the funniest.
Because it's one of the funniest. But secondly, because most of us don't have a 3-letter name, but you do.
I actually do. I've always loved high score tables because I'm the only person who can display their name proudly. Now, this does mean that there are other kids named Ben who may have been able to lay claim to certain high scores on our local arcade's Mortal Kombat machine. But, and this is crucial, screw those other Bens. They are not. They're not me.
No, they're not.
I think that's an essential piece of information to have, really.
No, although I feel like we ought to allow for the possibility that another local Ben may have been better than you at Mortal Kombat. It's possible.
I won't rule it out, David, but I will be completely honest with you. I don't think such a person ever existed.
Probably not, I'm sure.
I think I just got ran over, and I think this foot soldier truck appeared out of nowhere and absolutely like one-hit KO'd Leonardo.
Yep.
This game wants me to die. How? I have questions. How exactly did the Ninja Turtles ever get out of their sewer when the first thing they do is, oh look, there's a car, oh, I'm dead. And because it's a one-hit kill, Donatello's dead now. So what's happening is, I'm going to get respawned in this corner. It's going to make me load the character select screen every time. Then it's going to make me load the Legend of Zelda style overworld. And if I'm going to get, I might as well just have Raphael, because... So this is it. This is the end of my Ninja Turtles Commodore 64 speedrun. The speedrun being how quickly can I be, kind of shuffle off the mortal coil of 4 separate turtles.
That's incredible, yeah. I do wonder if maybe we picked the play.
With hindsight, we probably should have gone for something like... And then I'm going to throw this out there. There's a version for the Nintendo, which I hear is quite popular. That might have been good.
It might have. So I hear it's more or less impossible to play due to difficulty.
Oh.
That's what we're finding here. It may not have been any better.
I am going to say I think this is among the worst versions I've played. Although, I will say this, Raphael Sai has significantly improved reach.
Yeah.
In that it is killing things that have not yet come into contact with it. Which...
Great. That's important.
It's, I would say, super duper helpful. I think that's exactly what that is.
Earlier, when we began, I opened up the Wikipedia page for Unlimited Software Inc., and there does seem to be something interesting about them. It says here that, well, first off, they're listed under the name of Distinctive Software Inc., or DSI, with the same logo, but just DSI instead of USI. And there's an explanation for that here. It says, in 1989, programmers Pete Gardner and the Old Kid, brackets Amory Wong of DSI, under the pseudonym USI, Unlimited Software Inc., converted Sega's arcade game Outrun into a DOS version. For Outrun, they used several software libraries they developed for Test Drive 2. Consequently, Accolade charged that DSI violated a working agreement and sued. Accolade sought a preliminary injunction against the distribution of Outrun. Distinctive Software argued it had only used source code that did routine functions, such as clearing the video screen, and that Accolade did not own a copyright on those functions. Accolade argued that their contract for Test Drive 2 gave them the ownership and copyright of the final product, the game, and the source code used to create it. Distinctive Software won. The court ruled that the licensing agreement transfers to Accolade the copyright to the concept and design of the video game, but not the underlying source code. The court also found that Accolade had failed to demonstrate that the balance of hardships was in its favour. Now, what I find interesting about that is that as I read it, I didn't find it sufficiently interesting to have begun reading it. Because that doesn't explain anything about why they changed their name from Unlimited to Distinctive Software. I thought it was going to end up in a story where, because of Outrun, they had to change their name, but sadly not.
Well, my thought process is that they realised through the development of Outrun that there were, in fact, limits to their software, and those limits may not necessarily be... on a practical programming level, but certainly on a legal level, they had reached a limit.
Yeah. However, what you might be interested in about Distinctive Software Inc. is that it was established by Don Matrick, a man who I recognise, so I bet you do, because I don't know many things about gaming people, and you know more. He was the president of Interactive Entertainment at Microsoft for a bit, and
yeah, that name rings a bell. When did he do that?
He was not sure. He was in 2007. He served as president of Worldwide Studios for EA, where he worked for 15 years. Let's see. He apparently he's best known for being the former CEO of social gaming company Zynga.
That's where I've heard that name. I've seen his name associated with many of Zynga's various legal woes.
Many of their zingers.
Yes. Now, I scored 60 points this time. I'm not going to go with bum. But I'm. You know what, Dave? I think it's your turn to pick a 3-letter word.
Okay. Well, I mean, we've had bum. It's time for poo.
It is time for poo, and I do feel strongly, and I did say this, we should have gone before we started streaming. Right.
Sometimes, you can make use of the trip for both poo and streaming.
You can do both. Frequently, you do. I think it's difficult
almost
to just
every time.
Yeah, it's difficult to just do the second one without also having to stream. If you can do it, I mean, listen, I don't need to know, but kudos to you.
But well, it's just a two birds, one stone situation, isn't
Yeah.
it? If you can do both in a single sitting, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, it saves time.
It does.
And that for me has always been the biggest kind of
main
objection to having, like, I feel angry when my body's like, hey, guess what we need to do right now? Because my thought is, there are other things I want to be doing, and you're taking time out of my day. I'm frustrated by the design of the human body for a number of reasons, but the fact that I have to go to the toilet multiple times in a day is half of them.
It's genuinely now. I'm not even joking. It's ridiculous. it's beyond us as a species, and I don't know why we still do it. I think we should have invented something by now.
A pill or something. It just dissolves.
Something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am firmly of the opinion, and I realise we're getting into kind of murky waters here. I'm not a particularly religious person. I don't begrudge anyone their faith. But I do think that there's a strong argument against the existence of a loving and caring God, because we do need to use the toilet. That's the sole argument. That's it.
And speaking as someone who actually the condition of my ability to do that is affected. That I have. That's what my condition is. I'm sick of it. I lose at least an hour a day, more than most people do, and I can be doing without it. On Twitter a little while ago, which sorry about my picture quality. I've just been informed I have a poor connection. Or
that's me. Yeah, I'm having some I guess some Skype connectivity issues, which I also had yesterday because we recorded the game of Rassilon, and for the first time since we started playing remotely, we had to turn the webcams off, which was it was a lot of us here in LA are having internet problems. Because Spectrum, who insists that they don't know what throttling means, are throttling people.
Yeah. They are, yes. I saw your discussion with them the other day on that topic. But I suppose for the purpose of this, it's not really practical to turn webcams off. It can be done.
There would just be two blank space, or there'd be one blank space. I'm not using any more bandwidth having mine on. You're not seeing my webcam. I just don't believe you. You can't see it because it's being used by the streaming software. All you're seeing, because of the way we do the screen share on Skype, is you're seeing the game, my desktop wallpaper, and your own face twice. Yep.
And the desktop wallpaper is a nice one. It's like loads of people from Doctor Who. I mean, I'd almost go as far as to say it's everyone from Doctor Who, but that seems like a tall order.
It's more or less all of the Doctors, all of the companions, and then like the iconic, memorable baddies.
Right.
And this is the I used to have the Peter Capaldi version of the wallpaper, and then the creator of this wallpaper, whose name at the moment I don't remember, to my shame, after Jodie Whittaker's first season, went and added Jodie Whittaker's fam into the mix. And I actually found this wallpaper through our mutual friend Seb Patrick, who I don't know if he still uses it, but he did post a picture of his desktop a while back, and he was using a version of this wallpaper. And I thought, oh, that looks quite good. I'm going to see if I can find it. And then I found it, I think, on DeviantArt. Yeah. It was nestled in among all of the Sonic Mpreg artwork.
Sure, yeah. Good old DeviantArt.
Oh, I've been one-hit KO'd by a truck again.
Have you?
It's going to keep happening. It's going to happen over... Because we are going to switch games in about 20 minutes to something hopefully slightly less tedious, but having remembered what game we're playing, maybe not. But at least we're playing it on a different system.
Game, so I don't know. I'm looking forward to it very much.
You've never played Dalek Attack?
No, I don't necessarily know that I've ever heard of it.
I mean, in fairness, I hadn't heard of it until I want to say like the early 2000s, when I discovered that there was a Doctor Who game and that it wasn't very good. My memory of the last time I played it is that it has a very similar vibe to the Captain Planet game for the Amiga, if you ever played that one.
Oh, yeah. No, I like that. That's quite a good game.
Well, Dalek Attack is not. Attack... You are chasing me forever. It's the bad guy from Prometheus. He's just chasing me. I'm trapped. Send for help.
No, you're on your own.
This controls.
What a difficult game this is.
And the controls do not do anything to make that matter any less frustrating. If I'm going to be completely honest with you, when you have one button that is handling both fire and jump, and you've got to hold it for a bit to jump, your ability to escape from precarious situations in any instant is hampered. And I would rather they had just said use a keyboard. I'd rather they just said, Z and X are left and right, and P and a semicolon or whatever it is that they used to do back in the day are your jumps, and you space to fire. But what they did...
it was Z and X, K and M as up and down, and then space or enter with your little finger and thumb, Or I found the later crop of games that had Q and A for up and down, O and P for left and right. I found them more satisfying.
I like WASD. I'm just happy with your basic WASD configuration. I can't believe it took us 37 years, give or take, I may be rounding up there considerably, to get to a point where WASD became a standard.
Yeah. Well, we
standard, if you will.
I guess you needed to think in 3D to even conceive of it. I mean, look, let's all not forget that some of the earlier games were using the cursor keys to move around, and that's not acceptable. Ooh, what a noise that was. You're right there, Abby. Oh, she was just moving things around on a desk without picking them up that made a grinding noise.
Okay, I get to pick a new 3-letter word. I'm going to go with... I was going to go with P because we're playing the American version, so I'm going to go with we would be great.
Sure. Then we already have bum.
We do already have bum, and we had poo, and now we have P, which really we've kind of boxed ourselves in for what the next one's going to be.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to have to just not die again.
I just have to live forever.
Yeah.
Which is not impossible in this game, provided you have for example, a cracked version with a trainer, which I'm not using, and I don't have.
There's your problem, you see.
Is in order to play the game, you have to turn off collision detection, apparently. Which is that's how I finished Super Frog back in the day. I had a cracked copy. A friend of ours had bought a box copy, and I liked it. So he said, "Oh, I'll do your copy," and then it didn't work. But then another friend of ours had the means to procure a less than legitimate copy, and I feel like I've bought that game legitimately enough times since to make up for my misspent youth as a wayward criminal.
There's no use holding ourselves up to being judged about what piracy we did as children.
Yeah,
that's
because we didn't know.
No, and especially since we also don't say anything about the piracy we continue to do as adults. Now we do know.
What is up with that one ninja was like on top of me, and now Leonardo's dead again. Level 1, Leonardo has died. This is the hardest version of this game I've ever played.
I'm engaged in piracy reparations from around the time when this game came out, and perhaps as time goes on I'll catch up. But I've been purchasing on vinyl records, albums which, as a child, I borrowed from the library and copied onto tape, and then spent the rest of my life revisiting on those tapes, because all of my musical taste and favourites happened between the ages of birth and about 14, and thereafter simply ceased. With occasional little dalliances, even as far as age 18, I would say. But those old tapes I've been buying on vinyl, and many of them are children's albums. So not popular. We're not talking about we're not talking about sort of Revolver or something, things that are easy to get. We're talking about things that are difficult to find, such as the tie-in album with the children's shop, Children's World, which was a toy shop and a children's clothing shop and videos and games and anything else you can think of along those lines. And they came out with they hired Philip Schofield for some reason to compile a record of children's TV themes, presumably because he was privy to what kids were watching, being as he worked for children's TV.
Wasn't he also a DJ at one point as well?
Was he? Oh, I wouldn't know.
It's entirely possible.
And he compiled some kids' TV themes to go on this record, notably, a couple of his own. The Going Live theme tune is on there. And the Gordon the Gopher theme tune is on there. I don't know if you remember, but Gordon and Philip had a short-lived sitcom. Remember that?
No, not at all.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, Gordon the Gopher.
Dead.
He's the one for me. It's not a very good
That does
theme
sound
tune.
familiar. He's the one for me sexually? I'm not entirely sure. What is his relationship with Gordon, who, as is established by both the song and his name, is a gopher?
A gopher. It was a sexual relationship. They just went at it and at it.
That's shockingly, I'm not going to lie, very progressive, I think, for a children's sitcom.
No, it was. It was, yeah. I mean, especially since they had to remove the man's hand from the puppet.
Yeah.
For those scenes. And that was part of the show. You know, you saw him take and whose hand was sticking up. And then
amazing.
And then you'd have the next scene, and then he would, sort of flap it off and put it back on the man's hand. Yeah. And it's the only time I've ever seen a hand look downcast without being able to see the face.
Underhanded, you might say. No, that's
Probably
the wrong
not.
word, Ben, but you know what? I went for it. It doesn't make sense, but I went for it. And you know what?
Yeah, no, there was genuinely a sitcom about Gordon the Gopher, and I think the premise was that Gordon was a famous musician, and that he was certainly in a band, or he had a friend or family member who was in a band. Maybe he had a music-based gopher in his entourage. So anyway, it was him and 2 or 3 members of his family, you see. And they... Wait a minute. A memory stirs. Do I have the annual? Yes, it's right there.
I can't
it's
answer
right
that question
behind
for
me.
you. The one thing I was going to ask is, was there ever a crossover between Gordon the Gopher and Ed the Duck?
Not as far as I remember, but it's not impossible. Oh my goodness gracious me, Ben! I've just found an artifact of the past. Let me have a look on the stream so I make sure I'm holding this up to the correct part of my webcam, because I'm cropped for this. But here I...
Yep, there it is.
The Gopher annual 1989. So that tells us some extra information about when all of this went on. And, well, I mean, here we have a picture of Philip Schofield there doing a... How do I line it up with the camera? Come on. Doing a confused and puzzled... Eve Gordon the Gopher.
He looks baffled. He doesn't know what he's doing there.
And then over on the other side, we've got a picture of him. I don't know what he's doing there. He's just with Gordon the Gopher.
He's more teeth than man in that particular photo.
Actually biting part of Gordon there.
Which, again, that's strongly implicative of their physical relationship.
It is, and I do like the word implicative there. That was good.
It's possible I made a word up. I'm generally not sure.
It's very possible, but I'm going to try and adopt it because I like it.
Let's make it a word. Let's George W. Bush this word into existence.
Yeah. So I'm going to crack open Gordon the Gopher. Well, wait a minute. I should look up if there's a Gordon the Gopher computer game, because if there is, then really that perhaps is the day I ought to go on about this. Let me find out.
Now, the question I want to ask you is: are you still? Yeah. Oh, that's gone. Quite a long time, the picture of Scof getting being gently baffled by his gopher friend was just the webcam feed. It's frozen.
Oh right, okay. Well, is that still the case?
No, it's you're back to you now. Your humanity has been restored.
Yeah. I'm not seeing anything about a Gordon the Gopher video game, so we are now going to find out what is inside this Gordon T. Gopher Annual 1989. This,
Gordon Thaddeus Gopherington.
Now that's interesting. The picture where I said the more teeth than man picture has in the background of it, I believe it's a picture of them in the studio that they used to occupy, and behind them are various pictures to decorate that area, including one with visible corporate mascots stroke IP characters on. There is a Mickey Mouse there. There's a Donald Duck. There's a Garfield, a Mr. Bump, and Jimbo of the Jet Set. And I wonder if you had to acquire rights to print that on the front cover of your annual or not.
Or, considering it was definitely the 80s, and this was only being released in the UK, maybe they just did it And when they said, "Oh, well, you can't actually put Mickey Mouse on the back cover of this," was like, "Well, we printed as many as we think we're going to sell, so it's too late now. We're done.
We won't do it again." Yeah.
It's like those incredibly specific niche T-shirts that they do a very limited run of and advertise on Facebook because they know that by the time they get the cease and desist, they'll hopefully have already sold all of their.
They will have ceased. Yeah.
Don't mess with a man who was born in March who likes The Walking Dead and listens to Metallica whilst eating a ham and cheese sandwich, and
then a man who fits all of that description sends the cease and desist.
Yeah. Yeah.
This book is copyright 1989, Gordon the Gopher Trading Company Limited, all rights reserved.
Does that company still exist? I have to know.
I wonder. Yeah, what are they making today?
They went into plastics.
Here we've got some illustrations. Oh dear, I can't.
That's
I'm sabotaging.
Awful.
I recognise this artist. I feel that they were employed to do Rainbow comics as well. The samples of which you'll find over at the World of Crap website. I don't know if that is the same person. It's certainly it's a familiar style, and I suppose I could just be thinking about this. So
it's just you looking at this over and over again.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm nothing to do with the World of Crap website. It's just one that I like. I've realised that there are going to be people watching who have no idea what I'm talking about at all.
What you have been talking about for 7 short ice ages.
Yeah. So when we were kids, here in the UK, we had children's BBC, and and I believe there is an age difference between us, but I don't know what it is. So I don't know what your era
I'm going to be 34 in exactly 1 week.
Right, okay. So it's not a great difference, but it's well within the limits that you may not remember the Philip Schofield era of the broom cupboard. Do you?
I don't. I know that he hosted some things when I was very young, but I couldn't tell you what he hosted.
Well, what he hosted initially was children's BBC in the afternoons, which started out, it came out of essentially they just used to put kids' programs on at roughly the time they would come home from school. But then someone, and I don't know who, I don't know if it was Philip himself, but somebody suggested that we have in-vision presenter for that. And so starting at about what must have been 3 o'clock-ish or 3:30-ish, that sort of time, Philip Schofield would show up in what he called the broom cupboard. This was a joke. It was actually a very small studio. But it was really incredibly small, and it was just the continuity announcer's studio, where I believe, that might not be true, but certainly it was where the mixing desk was, and I think it was where a continuity announcer would make a continuity announcement, press a rudimentary button that queued up the next thing, and then moved on with their life. Well, it was done up with children's drawings that they sent in and things like this, and this was the broom. And Philip Schofield, who currently, if you live in the UK, you are aware of because he's a daytime TV presenter of great renown, and skill. He's good at his job.
I will say he's had a few Alan Partridge moments over his career.
Oh yes,
I've always had a tremendous amount of respect for him, a respect that was only deepened when he came out a couple of months ago.
That's right, which he did because he was forced to by a tabloid. He was in the...
Yeah, fuck the tabloid, but I did drop an F-bomb, so I do apologise. Screw the tabloid specifically, but the fact that he was able to, not on his own terms, but
I really thought that it was a real textbook taking of something a tabloid was going to do to you and running with it to make it your own.
Yeah.
Successful, especially since the impression that we have, because not only did he come out to the nation, the implication is that he came out also to his wife and children who hadn't known, and that was handled in such a way that they came across as having been all entirely on his side and supportive, and it didn't come across as a family rift, which it may have been. I don't know, but it was handled. I thought admirably. Actually, a little bit of it was in the news today, which I thought, what's this development going to be? But it seems to simply be, we have put together clues to figure out that he isn't currently living with said wife, based on what's in the background of something he posted while in the isolation we're all currently in, which strikes me as not a story and something that oughtn't to have been reported. Yeah, extremely invasive. Anyway, so Philip Schofield, he was the first of the CBBC presenters, and relatively quickly moved on. I think it was Simon Parkin after him, and then Andy Peters quickly took over. Andy Crane.
Yes.
He took over, and then Andy Peters. And anyway,
Andy Crane later of What's Up Doc.
Yes. So they all continued on in their careers. Philip Schofield, incidentally, I've seen twice live on stage. Once as Joseph, once as Dr. Dolittle. And he was very good in both. So I've always had, despite the fact that the kind of TV he does now is one which I generally dislike and think might be responsible for some of the world's ills. I like him. Anyway, he used to be on with Puppet, which was a hand puppet of the most rudimentary kind. It was really just a sort of shaggy sock with some fur put on it, and this was called Gordon the Gopher. And whoever it was that puppeted Gordon the Gopher, I probably ought to know, was good at it and was very funny and became something of a star. And he inevitably ended up with this sitcom that was on. It was on Kids TV. It wasn't like a primetime sitcom or anything. But I can't tell if this annual is a tie-in with that sitcom, which I thought it was, or just the existence of Gordon the Gopher generally. But what we have is the amazing world of Gordon, in which we learn some of Gordon's facts about his life. He was brought up at Gordonston School, for instance. Then we have a prose...
Very well thought out.
That's right, yeah. I for example, I went to Daveston School as a child.
Yeah, I went to Benjamin Junior School. And also before that, I went to Benjamin Infant School.
Oh, obviously, yeah. That's how these things work in the UK. If you don't live in the UK, now you know. Then there's a story called Framed, which is just a prose story. And it goes on for really quite a long time. That's a genuinely quite long story there. Some jokes. Here we go. Gordon's Groaners. Let's have some jokes. You ready?
Sounds like a smart play. Let's do it.
Where do you find... How are you getting on with the game, by the way? I haven't been watching.
Oh, I've stopped it. I'm just now transitioning over to the next game. Because I hit a wall that I believe the only reason that I got as far as I have is because I'm a nearly 34-year-old adult person who has an Xbox controller as opposed to a young child. Is this emulating correctly? Because I feel like it's supposed to be doing some actual visual effects.
Yeah. That to me looks like the perfect opening salvo for a recreation of the Doctor Who opening titles.
Yeah, except for some reason it decided not to be that. So let's see how this goes. Also, I'm not emulating the floppy disk sounds, so let's switch that on.
Maybe you're going to have to downgrade your real life Amiga.
Oh, I'm emulating an out of the box Amiga 500.
Mm-hmm. Well, that should be all right.
It should be all right. If it doesn't work, I'll just tweak some of the settings.
Yeah. Fairlight. When dreams come true.
That's their entire thing. Yeah. I'm also realizing that for some reason the Amiga is showing a part of the window at the top there, which is not a thing it usually does. So I need to move some stuff.
Right. Well, never mind. It's not a desperate priority, is it?
Boom! Now it's fixed forever.
Great.
Except the intro is still. I might have to change the type of Amiga I'm emulating. Let's see what happens.
wondering. Yeah. This is a bit like when this happens on a Spectrum. You just switch between a 48 and a 128K model.
There we are. Oh, you see what I'm doing? I'm emulating a version with not a tremendous amount of slow RAM. So I'm gonna restart this.
I confess I don't know. I don't think I've heard of slow RAM in particular.
So I had previously been emulating an OCS Amiga 500 with 512 kilobytes of chip RAM and 512 of slow RAM, which is described in the emulator as the most common configuration of Amiga 500. I'm now going to switch it up to an ECS Agnes model with 1 megabyte of chip RAM. So let's see how that does. If If it doesn't work, I'll switch over to like an Amiga 600 or something. And see if that makes any difference. I don't think it will.
I'd be surprised if this game needed more Amiga rather than less Amiga.
I mean, it certainly doesn't need like an Amiga 1200, something with an AGA chipset or 2 megabytes of chip RAM. I think 1 megabyte will do it. If it doesn't,
while we wait, I'll read you some Gordon the Gopher jokes. I actually think this first one's oh dear,
this is going very well.
I actually quite like this first joke. What's yellow and flickers? A lemon with a loose connection. Quite like that.
So stupid. I love it.
Yeah. Why do elephants have ivory tusks? Because iron ones would rust. Okay. Where do you find a turtle with no legs? Where have you left him? Jokes there. Why? This is a particularly British joke. Why can't a car play football? It's because it's only got one boot. That's the British word. The American equivalent for which is trunk.
You feeling good about this particular selection of jokes?
Oh yeah, I'm feeling very upbeat about them. This one comes in script format. So Philip says, "Gordon, how many times have I told you not to eat with your knife?" And then Gordon says, bafflingly, "But Philip, my fork has got a leak." And now I don't get that joke.
Yeah, I'm fully confused by
I say, how many times have I told you not to eat with your knife? But Philip, my fork has got a leak. Now and in case you're wondering, that there isn't, don't try and think about a pun there. It's not like I've got a bit of leak on my fork, so I can't eat because it's got some leak on it. It's not that. It's L-E-A-K. My fork has got a leak. I do not get that joke. I don't even know what they were going for.
I don't believe it's designed to be got. My thought process is it's designed to leave a human person in a state of perpetual embafflement, so that in such a way, so it's to distract you while Philip Schofield burgles your house.
Possibly, yeah, maybe, or comes around and makes it so that your ROM of Dalek Attack doesn't work.
It's entirely possible that that's the root cause. Now it might. Oh, hello.
Oh, hello.
That's the. I did. I picked the Amiga 3000 out of desperation, and the Amiga 3000 does not have a kickstart of its own. So let's. At the moment, I'm just kind of scrambling for. I think it's interesting the 2000 is not listed on here, but I did try the 1200 and it crashed. It just soft locked. So I'm gonna try now the 4000, an Amiga I never owned myself.
No, I don't know anything about the 4000. Here's some more jokes while we wait for that. What's thick and yellow? Stupid custard. That's a variation on the classic there.
I have heard that joke. I was told that joke, I think, by a classmate in school. So they may have had this annual, or that joke has just been recycled in every kid's annual.
This classmate who told you the joke, did they speak mostly in a squeaking noise?
They were kind of a small, kind of furry, kind of. I would say, like, if you just had a hand, just a hand,
surrounded it with
like a felt-covered hand.
Mm-hmm. What lies in the gutter and moans loudly? And I'm just going to pause here to try and get this joke as well. No, I don't think I get this joke either. What lies in the gutter and moans loudly? And the answer is a car with a broken windscreen.
What? What is the... Is that like a badly translated joke from a French Count Duckula annual or something?
I love the idea that the French have unique Count Duckula annuals.
They have their own separate annuals that must be it's a legal thing. It's a legal requirement. Okay, So what I'm learning here is that the Amiga 4000 doesn't know what floppy disks are. I mean, it does, but it doesn't seem to know how to... I'm going to try an Amiga 500 Plus with 4 megabytes of fast RAM.
That's plenty.
Or chip
fast
RAM.
RAM this time.
I think it's chip RAM, actually. I think I misread, but let's see what happens.
What's slow RAM, then? Is that just a disk that it writes to and reads from?
I know that... I'll be honest with you. I'm familiar with the terminology. I'm not familiar with what the specific usage of the terminology is. One of the things I have learned with emulating Amiga games is often if you download the wrong version of the disk image... Oh, there we go!
Oh, hey! There we go. It was a 500 plus all along is what we wanted.
I accidentally skipped the intro.
You
and considering how much
Yeah.
effort we've gone... I clicked on the window and the emulator registered that as a click of the mouse. And considering how much effort we've gone to, frankly, I think we deserve to see this intro in its fully pixelated glory.
Spew! Floppity doppity.
Well, it was the Sylvester McCoy era, so it go...
Oh.
And then it plays that one song by Muse. You know the one.
Yeah, the Doctor Who one.
Yeah. There we go.
Look at that. Are we going to get the full might of the CG rendered, TARDIS in a bubble, all of that? Hey, we might. Look at this.
State of the art. It's not
There
quite,
it is.
but there is the TARDIS.
I quite like that TARDIS. That's nice. Okay.
My brain, because of the way that the starfield is moving towards us at what the Amiga laughingly refers to as high res.
Sylv. Give us a wink, Sylv.
He'll do it in a minute.
wink.
He's going to do it. There we go.
There you go. It's lovely.
And a slight smile. His face is at the wrong angle.
It is, but it's a lovely bit of pixel art, though, isn't it?
Yeah, and then the wrong logo for Sylvester McCoy's Doctor. This game is 0 out of 0 stars. I'm going to give it a 4% in my review for Amiga Power. I actually think Amiga Power did trash this game because they described it, or at least they described it. Amiga Power, it was always my favourite magazine, and I remember discovering some 15 years ago that the creative team behind Amiga Power had created a website called AP2, and the entire purpose of this website is just, here's what Amiga Power was.
Oh,
and this is a voice sample from Genesis of the Daleks.
I don't think we should have a go at them for picking an incorrect Dalek voice sample. If it's
I'm fine with that. It's an iconic bit of dialogue.
I can't hear it, you see, so I'm having to guess.
We did just get shot by a Dalek, so I will say we're off to a bad start.
Game over, boys. Game over, boy. I just automatically Mr. Flibbled the end of that.
Yeah. Well, because we're in a hand puppet kind of, kind of state of being.
So, speaking of, what lies in the gutter and moans loudly, a car with a broken windscreen? I assume that the joke there is that it's like the equivalent of a broken heart. But I don't know why, though, the condition of having a broken windscreen leads to the lying in the gutter and moaning loudly parts.
Ooh, there's a spooky mouse pointer moving from your Skype window to... Oh, now it wants me to change the floppy disk.
It does.
Which, this is going... Again...
Changing... How exciting.
Wouldn't it be great if changing the floppy disk actively destroyed the emulation?
Let's find out if that happens. Now, of course, with WinUAE, you can queue up more than one disk in more than one virtual drive, I believe.
Yeah, but the thing you have to remember is that some games have decided that they don't like that there's a second floppy disk. This is a comic book now.
Loving it.
The Doctor's
absolutely loving it.
The Doctor is all about destroying things, as we know that's his MO. He's all about destruction.
Yep.
I'm going to... Okay, so I now get to choose... Oh, no, I don't get to choose anything, because off we go. I may have accidentally selected a two-player game, because I clicked the... So it's press the fire button on controller 1 to play a one-player game, and press the fire button on controller 2 for a second game. But mouse is player 2. So what's going to happen is, I'm going to play as Sylvester McCoy for a bit, and then, until I die, and then the mouse will play as Ace for a bit, until she dies, which she will. Oh no, it's simultaneous. I thought it was. This is the first level, which I think is just designed to weed out the weak. That's my memory of it.
Sweet. So you're. Remind me, is this a Sylvester McCoy era thing that he's in a sort of a Davros pod thing?
I'm gonna say yes,
Okay,
but this
cool.
never happened in the Sylvester McCoy era.
Oh, so that's a no as well as a yes.
Yeah.
That's a no, a top a yes.
It's stacking answers there. There are now no enemies appearing. Oh,
Right.
here they are. I made the mistake of pointing out the incongruity, and now I'm gonna die. Yeah, here come the Daleks.
What's green and then red, then green, then red? And the answer is a cucumber that works part-time as a tomato. They're having fun.
I actually really like that one for very stupid reasons.
That's quite
have
insane,
you considered sending these for Riddle Me Piss on Mabimbam? Have you considered sending these in? Because I really do think Travis and the boys would have a lot of fun with this.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, this is credited to Philip himself. It says at the top of this page, "I couldn't stand another page of Gordon's awful jokes, so here are some of mine instead."
Oh, I've died.
So, 2 fleas were going home after a night out. "Shall we walk?" said one flea. "No," said the other. "Let's take a dog."
Oh, that's grim. Look at this.
Whoa, nice. Oh, cool.
I don't know the idea of... Well, the doctor failed. And so he runs away.
These are some actual digitized screenshots that haven't been touched up. They're just digitized.
Yeah. Oh, I did make it to the high score for this one, and we do get more. Oh, I like that the first 7 high score table charts tables are
the doctors in reverse order.
Yeah.
That's very nice.
There we go. I put my name in appropriately. Yes.
Very rude.
Oh, I went there. It's only rude if people know what it means.
Right, yeah. Oh, wow, you have to skip through this entire intro comic each time.
Yes. But then I get to choose which... I do get to choose which doctor I want to be, but there's only 3 of the 7.
Oh, sweet. Oh, cool. Oh, that's quite cool.
Music this time.
There is a certain amount of presentation on this that I do like. This is a good screen. It's a bit...
I'm going to go for Patrick Chan. He was always my favourite.
Bit Signosis.
Yeah. Once I get past this horrible shooty level... Is it Sig or Sidenosis?
It is. I've found out it is Psygnosis, but in my heart it is Signosis.
I've always said... I think as a kid I used to say Pasignosis. I think it took me a very long time to learn how to say that specific word.
It was Pissignosis for a while, wasn't it? And also in my case, Wusmith was what I thought W.H. Smith should be addressed as.
There are so many delightful acronyms at work that I refuse to say as acronyms, and I always say them as words.
Cool.
Because it tickles me to do so.
That's what should be done, yeah.
There's a part of this opening shooty gun level, which of course is very Doctor Who. He is known for flying through sewers
That's the main
with
thing
a gun.
Yeah.
Where you have to rescue people who have been kind of glued to the wall. That is very reminiscent of the Alien 3 game that came out for the Amiga, I think probably the same year as this.
Oh. Is this a side-scrolling shooter? Is that what they decided to go for?
The first level is, yeah, because again, I think the first level is designed to weed out the weak. If you can finish this level, then you're okay to tackle the Cybermen in London. But if you don't finish this level, it's possible you don't deserve to play Dalek Attack.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
The music's not very good.
What's locked up and wears a thermos on his head?
Ooh, you're gonna have to.
I'm gonna warn you now. I find this joke funny.
Oh no, that could be anything.
Yes. So, what is locked up and wears a thermos on his head? Why, the man in the iron flask.
Oh my god. Some of these have to count as like psychological warfare.
Oh, you want some psychological warfare? Here is a snippet of conversation. This is a dialogue-based one, not credited this time to Philip and Gordon. Just not anyone. These are just put in inverted commas. How big is an elephant? What kind of elephant? A big one. How big? Scene.
That's the whole thing. Someone wrote that and they were paid for it.
Yep. That is the joke. What goes... What goes cluck cluck bang? a chicken in a minefield.
That's horrible. I love it. I think, given the attack pattern of this particular monster, I have to believe it. So there's only supposed to be one, and the game has glitched in 2 of them by mistake. I have to believe that, because otherwise someone designed it like this on purpose.
There's not a 2-headed thing in Doctor Who that resembles this?
Not to the best of my knowledge, no. I may be wrong. I do think this was created specifically for this awful, awful game. I've destroyed one of the bosses, and there's one remaining.
Cool. So at least we know it's not a Hydra situation. I mean, so this doesn't look good or anything.
No.
But it doesn't look absolutely awful to me. It just looks like a normal sort of a game. I don't know. I guess I haven't suffered through trying to play it.
Well, I've escaped the sewers and I'm now in London. Everyone knows you can only get to...
Loading London.
You can only get to London via the sewage system.
That's the main way in, yeah.
Referred to by the English as the tube.
Yes.
Oh, and I'm immediately being shot at by Robomen. Brilliant.
Great. Are they different? Are they a thing from Doctor Who, Robomen?
They are. I believe they're from the Dalek Invasion of Mars. Now, there's this wonderful... Dalek Invasion of Mars? No, the Dalek Invasion of Earth. No! Whoa! Did you see that countdown?
I saw it say 3. That's as far as I saw anything.
It counted from 10 to 0 in less than a second.
Wow, I only got the frame that said 3. I'm now going to watch it again on the actual stream, where there's a 30-second delay or so, and I will let you know what I think of it when I see it.
It is frankly offensive.
Oh, here we go, and... Oh my god!
Yeah!
Okay, yeah, no, it's just... that's clearly not what it would have been like on a real Amiga.
Yeah, I feel like that's the Amiga... Actually, I'm gonna unplug it. I'm gonna unplug the virtual mouse. There
what do you think the virtual mouse has to do with it?
I wonder if it detected the mouse, what it passed as the mouse movement as a wiggling joystick.
Why would that slow down, speed up your countdown? Though?
Because that's how you get past the countdown on this. If you decide, I don't want to continue, you waggle the joystick, and every waggle increases the number. That's quite common with a lot of Amiga games. I did it a lot when I got fed up of Mortal Kombat as a kid, which was frequent.
Know that.
All right, I'm now Tom Baker. I'm T Baker.
I got one final joke for you, and I actually like it, and I think it's a good one. Right? Why did the bees go on strike?
Well, this is very topical, because the bees are disappearing.
Oh, well, I suppose so, yeah.
And now we're about to find out why. Go ahead and reveal the cause.
Because they wanted shorter flowers and more honey. Right, like that.
Oh, okay, yeah, you need to send these to Travis. He would love these.
Yeah. I've just been flicking through the book. I've just found an article, the headline of which is simply Pablo. So I'm going to find out what's going on there.
Tell us some Pablo facts. I'm assuming that's what that is.
Yes. Do you still keep in touch with your family? The article asks of Gordon the Gopher, and he says, "Oh yes, cousin Pablo is now running a very profitable cactus juice business, which employs most of the family and quite a few other local Gophers besides. With the profits, Mum and Dad have bought a caravan and are currently touring North America with my brothers and sisters." Can't you just picture some aging copywriter sitting and writing this out and having to
we've just got to fill pages. We've just got Brian. We got a page count. We're under contract. Can you just fill it with any old bollocks?
I feel like there's a whole episode of Ed Reardon about this. Mum and Dad have bought a caravan and are currently touring North America with my brothers and sisters, getting to see the big wide world at last. Very few of my family have ever travelled beyond the prairie, and of course I write every week, let the kinfolk know how I'm getting on, and post my dirty laundry home to be washed. That sort of thing, brackets laughs. No, I'm only joking, I go to the laundrette down the road. I used to do my own laundry until the day I slipped and fell into the washing machine. I was well into the second rinse before I was rescued. Now I pay a little extra, and the nice lady at the laundrette does it all for me. So... that's what's going on with Pablo the Gopher, who, I don't know if that is someone who was ever in the TV program. I don't know.
It's a canonical Gopher. Is Pablo canonical? And does the Gordon the Gopher annual count as canon in the expanded Gordon verse?
It must do.
Or maybe, is it like Doctor Who canon, where it's, if you want it to be canon, it is, but if you don't like it, you can ignore it?
Yes, that's a very important part of Doctor Who, isn't it?
Yeah, it's an incredibly important part because it allows me to kind of, happily ignore all of the Big Finish stuff. I'm never, ever, ever going to have time to listen to. It's never going to happen. Big Finish does wonderful work, and I love everything that I've listened to.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm never going to listen to it all. Big Finish puts out 57 separate releases a day. And I'm never... There's no way in this modern life, with these modern haircuts, that we will ever be able to listen to or consume all of Doctor Who. There are comics, there are books, there are new audios being discovered every day, and it's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
I listen to some of the Paul McGann stuff when I have time, and that's it, because that's the only McGann we get.
It's the only McGann you're going to get. I've only listened to maybe 3 Big Finishes, because, I mean, quite apart from anything else, they're very expensive. You know, even as much as they do, keep giving away free ones and stuff like that, there's a lot of them, and most of them are like album price or more.
Yeah.
Audiobook price, some of them, and it's quite an undertaking. I'd love to understand the mind of someone who's actually literally bought them all at launch at full price. That's many, many, many thousands and thousands of pounds.
It's quite a lot of money, isn't it?
Yeah, but yet I'm very glad that they exist and can. It's good that we've now finally started talking about Doctor Who, anyway, isn't it?
Yeah, it's only taken us 20 minutes. Although,
I've closed my Gordon the Gopher annual now.
I don't know that I was about to say I don't know that I've ever owned a Doctor Who annual, but I remember Christmas of 2012. I think my dad bought me maybe 2011. My dad bought me the Doctor Who Brilliant book for that year, which had a bunch of information about the Corsair in it.
Oh, marvelous! I don't know what that is.
The Corsair was the Time Lord that the Doctor thought he was going to rescue in The Doctor's Wife.
Oh, right. Oh, gosh, yes, I think I've only seen that the once. I don't really remember it. I'm going to go and put my Gordon the Gopher annual away now.
You should.
There we go. And while I'm here, I'm just going to have a little look at my annuals shelf, just to make sure that I don't have a Doctor Who one. Because I did at one point own a Doctor Who annual. But I don't think it's here. No, it doesn't seem to be here. The Doctor Who annual that I owned was picked up at some sort of school fete or Christmas fair or whatever other name you might give to a time when you can go to school and buy annuals from each other. And
Thursdays.
It was a Pertwee era annual, and it had on the not at all contemporary to me. It was a Pertwee era annual, and it had on the cover an illustration of Pertwee's Doctor looking into a test tube or something, I think.
Oh.
So I can find out which one that is now, because I've got the internet. But first, let's have a little look in the chat and see what's going on.
Yeah.
Because people have been talking, and I've been
ignoring. This is a game for kids with the Foster's logo in the background, and I've died.
Oh, I missed
There's also
that.
McDonald's and Coke are in this game. I don't know if they paid to be there, but they are there.
Ink Army correctly says that this game should start you as Hartnell and give you 7 lives, and each time you regenerate into the next Doctor.
That would be good, but instead of doing that, they didn't. And we don't have to respect their choice, but we don't even have to understand it, but we do have to play this game. And now I'm imagining now we've got Tom Baker climbing on the roof of a building.
Oh, watch out, Tom.
That was like bad. This is like the commercial at the front of a Doctor Who videotape. Whoa! Watch out, Tom! Here come the Daleks! Oh! Mind out for those Robomen, Tom.
Or like the continuity announcer on sort of ITV in the middle of the day or something.
Yes.
And the film this afternoon is Doctor Who. Doctor Who gets in trouble when some Daleks invade. Watch out, Doctor.
And I get in trouble when I refer to the character as Doctor Who.
I insist on him being referred to. Him. Look at me.
It's in the incarnation I'm playing as it is him.
That's what I'm thinking, and also I'm currently having an old Who watch through. Yes, it's many, many decades until I reach Jodie. But of course, as we now know, in a piece of ignorable canon that you can choose to decide is real or not, that's Only a handful of regenerations right out of the middle of the Doctor's extensive life.
Oh, Ogrons.
Language.
Oh, Ogrons. That's gonna be my new curse now. It's like, Ogrons.
Ghost Dialogue asks, am I still reading Discworld? And the answer to that is ambiguous. So here's what I've been doing. I
thought you were quoting them, like they ask if they are still reading Discworld.
No.
And we can't answer that question for you. Only you know whether you're reading Discworld or not.
No, it was asked to me, and the answer is that yes, I got as far as Reaper Man, the one which everyone agrees is a really good one and a good place to. Some people will say a good place to start, but everyone agrees is a good experience, and I agree as well. And I'm a certain way into it, and I've enjoyed every moment of it so far. The problem is that it's by no means the main book I'm reading, and in fact, it's just in my bag for if I'm ever out and about, and I'm like, well, I want to read something. Usually, if I'm in a local park where I go quite a lot to just enjoy the fact that I'm in the local park. Well, as of lately, my trips to the local park have reduced significantly to 0. And so I'm not in a position to be reading any of it at the moment. But that's not a good excuse. I have had the book in my bag for about 3 years and have been reading it little by little whenever the fancy strikes. And it just turns out that that's not something I do while I'm out and about. That was a bad decision to make, and I don't know why I made it. No, I do know why I made it. It was that early on when part of my daily journey would take me to a cafe that I would sit and write in, and I was and am writing a novel which has a light-heartedness to it, and the way that I would get myself into that mood would be by reading a bit of Pratchett, and so I would do that. But inevitably, it turned out that the planned journey, which would, as I say, sometimes involve walking through a park, never took place because I was always late and I had a very short amount of time left to do any work in the cafe before it closed. So I would go, in fact, drive straight there. And so, all of the reading time that I planned basically never took place. So, yes, I haven't abandoned the series, but my actual active reading of it is extremely limited. And that's a shame because they're really, really good.
I'm a very big Discworld fan. I still remember my parents giving me my first Pratchett, which was Diggers, which is the second entry in a trilogy.
Well, that's silly.
Yeah.
And I can, I think, fairly reliably say that Truckers was my first Pratchett book. So between us,
yeah,
I got it right and you didn't.
Yeah, although I do remember of that trilogy, I do remember enjoying Wings the most. I think Wings was the book that kind of really that I really kind of enjoyed.
Oh, I disagree. To me, it was Truckers, but after that, it seems to sort of drag on and just still be happening. But Wings certainly had that exciting final chapter in the trilogy feel to it. So I did like it, although I think I would have liked it even more if it had been a bit more about space than planes.
I do think we've stumbled on here. I don't know if you're looking at the screen.
I will be now. I am.
This is our friend Tomothy Baker. Gripping to the sky. As he. Because what I did was I got up here and I thought, ooh, there were some collectibles, so I jumped across, and suddenly.
Well, that's very exciting. Maybe that's just a power that Doctor Who has, but that just rarely gets mentioned, like, mind reading and stuff.
Or like his respiratory bypass system that lets him breathe in space for a little bit.
Yeah, that's that bit, yeah. It also lets him climb on the sky. My dad has showed up in the chat to give us a piece of very important information about Gordon the Gopher, which is that Gordonston is a school. It's the school that Prince Charles went to, which renders that a better joke.
Yeah, I have an appreciation for that joke now that I didn't have previously.
Yeah. So there are good jokes in the Gordon the Gopher annual.
There's exactly 2 of them.
I'd go as far as to say maybe 4. Maya Franklin, just out of either nowhere or as the result of a long string of conversation I've missed, says, I had such a vivid memory of being at my auntie's house when I was about 3 and seeing Schofield, talking about Schofield, intro Mysterious Cities of Gold in the broom cupboard. Yeah, those were the days. I may have to rewatch Mysterious Cities of Gold. I haven't done that ever, except for the time when they did start rerunning it when I was a slightly older child. And I only saw the first episode that time, but I was very excited by that episode, and to find that it was an ongoing story, which was a rarity in children's media at the time. Let's see.
I have no Gordon the Gopher knowledge. I had an Ed the Duck lunchbox as a kid, but I don't think that was out of a fondness for Ed the Duck. I think that was out of a fondness for my mum finding them cheap in Iceland.
Sure. I would have been delighted to have an Ed the Duck sandwich box. I would have gone with that, no problem. One of the things that distresses me is that I can't remember what all of my sandwich boxes were, and I realise that wouldn't distress most people, but it's the sort of thing I should remember. In fact, I won't even swear I can remember what any sandwich box I ever had was. I may have had a Ghostbuster. I can remember the sandwich box, and it was blue, and it had clips. And when I picture the picture on the front, what I get is the sheet of white that is the result of the picture tearing off over the years.
What shade of blue are we talking? Are we talking TARDIS blue? Are we talking
TARDIS blue?
TARDIS. Okay, so like a dark blue, because the Ed the Duck one was a light kind of what we would call sky blue. I don't know if your school had the same problem mine had when I went to infant school. When I was like 7, 8 years old, there were always turf wars over the sky blue crayons in the Crayola box.
We didn't have that. We had the same turf war, but we reserved it for the stickers. The stars given to us by our teacher when we were good. You know how that
says so much about the school you went to, and the differences in upbringing that we both had. Like,
is this not something you had then?
No, we had stars. It's just I don't think I grew up in Luton, so I don't know that anyone in Luton, teacher, child, or otherwise, had even a modicum of a crumb of fecal matter to give vis-a-vis star distribution.
Right. Well, the way that the system worked in our school was that, and this is just in the first couple of years, I'm pretty sure after that it died away to nothing, but yeah, if you did something well, you would be given a star, and these would be the pre-made stickers. The teacher was simply peeling them off a sheet, and they would be various primary colours. But they wouldn't just stick them. They were stickers, but they would stick them via a strip of sellotape to your top, and you would go around wearing it as a trophy. In fact, I have a pin on right now in the same place, roughly. That's a deep psychological thing that I've learned, is that's where to proudly wear an insignia of some sort. Those would then be transferred at the end of the day onto my bedroom door, and I'm not going to say on the record they're not still there now. They certainly were there until they dropped off. I don't know whether they were ever taken off or not. But if you did really well, then you would get a silver star, and if you did ridiculously well, you would get a gold star. And you really had to be, you more or less had to single-handedly save the school from insolvency or something like that.
That's such a specific thing that it must have happened at least once.
Yeah,
like the day before the big real estate mogul is about to buy up this land for the school to turn it into a giant toilet or something, and then a kid runs in with Sir, Mr. Wimbley, or whatever my teacher's name is. I think I've found the thing that will save the school.
Yeah, that exactly, and it happens now and then, and it only happened once in the time that I was at the school. But we had our own system that the teacher was unaware of, because of the coloured stars below your gold and silver tier, and I need to stress it, you rarely got one of them ever. I did, but I can't remember why. It was, you really had to go above and beyond. Normally you would get a coloured star, and of those, the sky blue ones were the highest tier, even though the teacher was unaware of that. Those were the most prized ones, because there's just something about the colour sky blue. It's just one of the best colours in the world. I'm looking at the sky now. It's
pretty great.
The sky I'm looking at right now is classic sky blue. I'm going to call the shade sky blue that I'm looking at. And it's brilliant. I mean, what a great colour. Do you know what? I haven't done this in a while. Just really genuinely appreciated the blue that is the sky. What a great colour. How fortunate we are that we live on a planet where the atmosphere has that particular effect.
Yeah.
Now, of course, I'm sure the only reason that it strikes at our eyes as being a pretty colour, nice to look at, is because we grew up and evolved on a planet with just such an atmosphere. But I like it.
Lucky us. I mean,
Nice.
It might be. We'd still be enamoured of it if it were, like, I don't know, turd brown or something.
Yeah, probably, depending on what... But yeah, if that's the planet we grew up on. I suppose when we inevitably kill the sky and our, let's say, grandchildren, maybe children, grow up in a turd brown sky planet, we'll have to see if when they're our age they find that an inherently attractive colour. But for now, it's blue that we like. I have lots of memories of it. I have my favourite marble was that colour, and I used to set it. In fact, actually, I had 2 or 3 marbles of a sky blue, which I set aside in their own special place as a very young child, because they were the correct colour, the best colour.
There's something about sky blue that just kind of gravitates towards, that a child will gravitate towards, and I think that the fact that even though you had a different metric for excellence in your school, whereas we had the self-imposed, constant battle to be the person with the sky blue, the fact that the sky blue stickers are the ones that you craved and coveted above all else, I think that does speak to something really universal about that particular colour. Now, I do want to point out one of the enemies in this game are Ogrons, who were the Daleks' henchmen of sorts in the Day of the Daleks, which was a Third Doctor serial, in which we discover there was a secret incarnation of a Dalek called the War Dalek. No, that's not true.
I liked it though.
Yes. No, but the Day of the Daleks is an actual Doctor Who serial, and one that I rewatched relatively recently, actually. And that's really it's basically the Terminator with Daleks. There's really no other way to put it. It's loosely based on the same short story that the Terminator is loosely based on.
Right. Oh, that's very interesting. Is that true?
It is true. They talk about it a little bit in the behind the scenes stuff on the DVD. I like that whenever I give you a fact, you do have to qualify whether it's true or not, because I do say a tremendous amount of nonsense on this show.
You talk some real rubbish sometimes, Ben.
But I have fun doing it, and I think, you know what? I think if you're honest with yourself, you have fun listening to it.
I do. You've been asked multiple times by Worms T17, so I'll pass this question on. Can you ask Ben this, Dave? Have you heard, Ben, of the Russell T Davies send-off to the Sarah Jane Adventures and Elizabeth Sladen?
Yes. So they're doing, I guess, a special. They've been doing these online, tweet along with the writers and creative team.
Yes.
People, broadcasts. These kind of, you put it on at the same time, and then you can tweet with us. And it's called Doctor Who Lockdown. So we've had Russell T Davies and Stephen Moffat have joined, or in the case of Moffat, rejoined. Twitter to participate in these things, which I bloody love, if I'm being completely honest with you. There's something great about being able to watch these. I'm very seldom, because of the time difference and my schedule, able to watch at the same time, but it is nice to go through the tweets afterwards.
Yes. Oh yeah, I haven't watched along with any of them.
Yeah.
Not because I don't have the time exactly, although there is that, but it's just because I've seen them so many times that it would be annoying to watch again.
And today, excuse me, sorry, I have not been up for very long. Today they are doing, at 8 o'clock they're doing The Stolen Earth, and then at 9 they're doing Journey's End. So that's the season 4 finale. That's David Tennant's last finale before his gap year specials. And they are apparently following that with a special, I guess, little mini episode thing that Russell has written as like a farewell to the character of Sarah Jane Smith. Which, it's interesting that this is happening, because it happens the same week that Big Finish have announced that they've recast Sarah Jane Smith for a bunch of new audios with Tom Baker. And the person they've cast is actually, I think it's her name, Sadie Miller, who was the daughter of Elizabeth Sladen.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
There we go.
They also have someone else playing Harry Sullivan, but to my shame, I don't remember his name. But it does. Well. But the thing I just said did rhyme, so I think that makes up for it.
That makes up for anything that ever happens. Yes. That's why some of history's most terrible tyrants did so many limericks.
This is true. You can get away with a lot if you can make it poetically pleasing.
Yeah.
This is, I think, someone. The reason I mentioned Amiga Power earlier is someone on the Amiga Power website I refer to, that AP2, did describe. They did describe this game as being about the Doctor running around shooting Daleks with his trusty laser gun, and gave it. They gave it a very low score.
Right.
In their review, I want to know how well this game scored, but I can't imagine it was by much.
Ben, I'm very pleased to confirm that my dad has now gone upstairs and got a photo of my door, and sure enough, it is covered in I'm mostly seeing... Actually, I'm seeing an abundance of what I think are silver stars. I don't know if any of them are gold. Maybe one, maybe two. Not seeing any light blue ones, so those must have been... I probably reattached those a couple of times. You know, I never thought... I don't think I ever thought of simply pretending to have been awarded a star by wearing a previous day's star. But
you're far too honest for that.
Yeah, well, evidently. Yeah. Now, they're all in a big jumble, as if I was sticking them on top of one another, which definitely isn't the case originally. And you can even see the shapes left in the door where the sellotape previously was surrounding stars. So I don't know at what point I ripped them all off and shoved them all back on again in a single clump. But apparently I did that. I'm quite annoyed with myself for doing that. I don't know why I did that.
There must have been a point in your own personal history where your thought process was, you know what? Let's stack them. Because then there's lots of them. You know what?
Yeah. Maybe that turns it into a superstar, I suppose I was about to say. Yeah. Interesting to see that above the door handle is the Sonic 2 sticker that I got at Games Master Live.
Oh, very nice.
Which was not a live taping of Games Master. It was an event that they put together, what we would now call a convention.
Yes.
A games convention in Birmingham.
Whoa, slow down. See, now you've lost me. A games convention.
A gaming convention, yes.
A convention parallels games.
Yes. And it was, it involved all sorts of, the gaming making people of the day, like, Gremlin and people like that.
Gremlin and probably some others.
Yeah, they got together and they put booths together, and we went there, and there was all sorts of nice things like joysticks in the shape of Bart Simpson and Alien and the Terminator and Batman, and a bus, which on the bus, it was the Sega bus, and on the bus they had a playable copy of Sonic 2, which was brand new, and it was the first time I'd ever seen it, and that was why I have a sticker of Sonic. Actually, I saw these stickers lying on the ground everywhere, and it had that the Sonic 2 logo, which was the 2 with Sonic and Tails either side of it, leaning on it and doing.
Which I always thought was very disrespectful of the brand, but okay.
Why?
Just leaning. You don't lean against your number. That's just. I mean, you can scuff it up, and it just shows a lack of respect. You know.
Well, that's Sonic through and through, isn't it? That's his attitude on display there.
He is the hedgehog with attitude. That is true.
He is, and in fact, looking at it now, Tails is sort of peeping out in a slightly more friendly way, whereas Sonic is leaning disrespectfully against it. That's who Sonic is. He's very disrespectful.
I can't abide a disrespectful hedgehog. I'm on the record as being incapable.
You are now.
Yes.
You are now, certainly. Well, this sticker had that on it, and they were all over the floor, strewn everywhere, and I wanted to know where you get them, and I couldn't find out. And then my parents encouraged me to go and ask this woman who was just standing around who had one. And I don't remember the circumstances of that. I don't know whether this was someone they knew or whether she just looked friendly or whatever. But, for whatever reason, I ended up approaching this woman. And I say woman, for all I know, she might have been 13. And that's why I was pointed in her direction as someone they thought would talk to me on the level. I don't know, but I thought she was a grown woman anyway. And I asked her where she got that sticker, and she said, "You get it from there," and pointed to the Sega bus. And the queue into the Sega bus was so long that there was no way that we would get in before the place shut. So she simply peeled her own sticker off and put it on my little cardigan.
Aww.
And my cardigan, by the way, I don't know if it was... I can't swear as the one I was wearing that day, but I bet it was. I had a very good cardigan that my mum had knitted me. And it was... The reason it was so good, I mean, apart from all of the care and attention put into it by my mum knitting it for me, was that its buttons, which she'd got from a knitting shop, were alternately little pencils and little pencil sharpeners.
Oh,
can you imagine that?
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. I'm impressed.
Yeah. That was... Yeah, Mum made me some good tops in her time. She knitted me a Gonzo top from the Muppets. She knitted me a Raphael jumper. And she knitted me another one that I can't remember now. Oh, a Bugs Bunny.
I should point out that I'm currently at 76 Totter Lane, which is also the address given in An Unearthly Child of I Am Foreman's Scrapyard, which is where the TARDIS was originally parked. I guess now it's a pub.
Well, so that's a confusing mixture of being granularly correct in the details and utterly wrong.
Yes. It's this weird, like, oh, look at this fan reference. It's a pub now. There's also this delightful thing, like, can you see all these brands here?
Yeah.
They're also having, there's Cola, there's McDocks, Fost, Kodak. I don't know what that the other logo is, but it does look vaguely familiar.
No.
But McDonald's and or Coke right now appear to be having a price sale.
Yeah, it's a price sale.
Yeah. Now
that's an important kind of price.
I don't know.
Sale.
I don't know what I'm doing right now. I do feel like I have exhausted all of my available options. I've killed everything, but things still keep spawning.
There've been suggestions in the chat as to whether you may be missing bits of sky you can climb on.
That's a good point. What I'd done there is I'd accidentally died and clipped back to where I jumped from somehow. I'm not sure how that happened. I did find those bits of sky earlier when I was crossing over to the what I'm going to call just the other side. So yeah, maybe there's bits of sky that I've missed. So I just need to keep jumping at nothing, which is it's kind of really indicative of kind of my life up to this point, if I'm being completely honest. There's this Ogron. This Ogron has been destroyed. Patrick Troughton, obviously known for his interest in murder, as in his time as the Doctor, he did run around just kind of blasting people. Actually, I think the only classic Doctor who did that on the regular was Jon Pertwee, and he's not playable in this game. So checkmate atheists, I guess. I don't really know where I was going with any of that. Yeah, I'm kind of jumping up at sky, kind of hoping for...
Yeah, just in the hope.
Yeah, I'm not finding...
I will Google this for you, Benj. How do I do that?
Dalek attack, help.
Dalek attack, help.
I've died, I've used my last continue.
Oh, dear.
I get to do that wretched sewer bit again.
Oh, dear. Well... And unfortunately, we've only got just over 10 minutes in which to do it because I'm booked on a podcast.
You are booked on a podcast, yes. I think I'm just going to play these last 13 minutes. It's unlikely we're going to set another speedrun. A speedrun world record.
I think perhaps you ought to be being a bit more liberal with save states so that you don't have to play anything again. Or is that against your morals?
Oh, I use save states all the time. I just haven't for this because I thought it would be... more entertaining to watch me fail consistently and constantly.
Okay. Yes. Well, it does say here on TARDIS.fandom.com's Dalek Attack wiki entry, it says this is just a description of of what happens in the level, but maybe it'll provide a clue. It says, back in the streets of London, must fight off Daleks. Ogrons and humans converted into Robomen all around while searching for hostages in various houses and the London Underground. After collecting a smart card, he fights off a beast inside a massive Dalek travel machine tank that can spit out mini rockets which guard the temporary disruption.
Does he? I've never done it.
So, Maybe it's something to do with collecting a smart card and using it on a door or something.
It's entirely possible. I've been pretty good at rescuing hostages at this point, because on account of not only being able to find 2 of them.
I've now put Dalek Attack Stuck London, but I'm not really finding anything about that.
I don't think there are a lot of people searching for Dalek Attack, so I think that what's happening there is you're going to get articles about the times Daleks have attacked London.
Yes. Oh, I know what I can do. I can watch a video of someone doing it.
Well, that's good.
Yes.
I'm glad one of us can, because our viewers certainly can't.
Okay, let's see. I'm watching somebody play it. Okay. Okay, I'm nearly at the bit you need.
This is very good. This is great.
Oh, marvelous. Okay, I've found out exactly what you need to do, and it's very annoying. Not to do it. It'll be very easy to do. What will be annoying is the fact that presumably it says you're able to do this in the manual, and we simply didn't know.
Yeah.
If you basically get there, and I'll have to point it out.
All right.
Well, I won't have to. I just choose to.
Do you remember back in the day when you had to read a manual to know what you're supposed to do in a game?
Indeed, yeah.
I will say this, as much as mandatory tutorials have been a frustrating element of video game over the last 15 years, I have a newfound appreciation of them, because you load up a game like this and you have no ruddy clue what to do.
Yes, although I would also be happy to go back to a time when you had to read the manual and then you could just play the game, because the transparent tricks they use to try and incorporate tutorialing into games is very tiresome, and it was quite nice when you could just read the book and then just play the game. The only difference is that now we're discouraged from having such things as a booklet, and that I think is the problem.
It's mostly them trying to save money, surely.
I mean, exactly. I'm more or less of the opinion that anything that's changed in any way since about 1996 has been incorrect. On any subject.
I have some horrible news for you about Doctor Who, because they made more of it, and there's different people playing the Doctor now.
That is horrible news. Well, as long as they're all white men.
Uh-oh.
Bow.
That's a double uh-oh, because it's an uh-oh because you're going to be disappointed. It's not oh because of the inherent political biases on display in your preference of Doctor.
And yes, and I suppose I ought to amend that I think that everything that's changed since 1996 on almost any topic is bad. It would be nice if things could be generally a bit less racist than they were then.
Listen, I'm not going to lie. I would love there to be significantly less racism.
Yeah. The only thing is, I don't anymore believe that there is significantly less racism. So it's like that, I feel like that's still to do. So we can go back to 1996 and then make those changes. Well, we can't, because that's impossible, but we should try.
But it's nice to imagine for a hot minute that we could. I've died somehow.
Okay, well, undie again, and what you're doing in this level is, and I don't know how many people you have to shoot to be allowed to do this, but you're going to go into the London Underground, which is as simple as going up to the sign that says London Underground and just going in.
Really?
Yeah.
To shreds, you say? All right, well, let's see what happens there. Oh, here it is. Is it this?
Like it's covered in boxes. You have to uncover it in boxes somehow.
I would imagine I have to blow it up.
Either that or just by shooting a prerequisite number of people or something like that. I'll call up that video I had again and see what they did about it.
Let's see if we can solve this inside of, we'll say 7 minutes.
Let's see.
I mean, I've collected very many grenades.
Oh, good. Well, that might do it.
I don't know how to use the grenades, but I have them.
Well, Doctor Who is a noted violent man. He might know how to use them.
He's horrifically violent, if we're being completely honest.
Yeah.
Oh, that's my phone. Who's pinging me? No one.
I'm not really seeing the person in the video do much. So I guess the bags just get uncovered. Maybe you have to collect all the little Doctor Who logos.
Oh, hello.
The wrong
Hey!
way. Oh, have you done it? Are you aware of how you uncovered the door?
No, I'm still kind of gently lost with regards to how I managed to do that, but I'm being chased by rats.
Okay.
Where does this go? To a different part of the underground. I think the fact that it was covered and then it was uncovered and there's no way of determining the different, the intermediary points that make that occur. Yeah. If this were a modern 3D game, there'd be a fancy little cutscene. But it's not, so there isn't. No.
And that's good. I think I prefer that,
Yeah.
You don't need all that mucking about.
No, but a little camera movement showing the rubble being removed would be...
No, I don't like those. One of the things that annoys me the most in games is automated camera movements, because it means that there you are playing the game and then everybody stops and then the camera goes over somewhere to show you... Well, it annoys me the most in things like Zelda, where you know that when you finish this block puzzle, it'll open a door. And yet, it still insists on moving the camera over to the door, opening the door, and then going back to Link again. And it's like, well, look, I could have pointed the camera in that direction. As it is, I'm now disoriented. I don't really know where that door was.
Well, the good news is we're never going to finish this level, because I keep dying. As I make new discoveries, I am murdered. And Troughton doesn't even get the opportunity to regenerate into Jonathan Pertwingford.
No.
Who, as we know, played the 87th Doctor.
Yes, although my dad will be pleased about that, because he was always annoyed when that happened, because he was a Troughton man, a Troughton boy, and Pertwee came in and made it not very Doctor Who-y anymore, and I think he was always annoyed about that.
I would say that I'm in my rewatch of my third or fourth rewatch of the entire show, start to finish, but I think I mentioned last time we did this.
I think you did.
And I think
I probably said that last thing. In fact, we're probably just repeating an entire conversation, but go on.
What was really happening is we've recorded one of these, and every other Sunday we're just hitting play.
We just run it again.
Yeah, we just run it again, because honestly, who's going to know?
I mean, who's going to watch?
You've upset 80 people in chat right now, which is impressive, because there's maybe 10.
Yes. They all came in specially to be annoyed.
Yeah.
That's what happens on YouTube, though, isn't it?
Like Republicans demanding their right to go out and infect people by having big mass protests. The people have come into our chat demanding to be annoyed.
So Matt is asking me what podcast I'm doing today, assuming I'm the Zavid he's addressing. And I'm doing Question Box with Brent Black and Kate Sloan.
Oh,
it's
nice.
it's a podcast that a known friend of mine, Brentalfloss, does, where he it's sort of an excuse for him to talk about his willy. But
no, I do. Here's the thing. I do think we need to isolate the audio of you saying that and just send it to Brent so he can incorporate it in some way as, I don't know, a soundbite, or maybe as like into the theme, or I don't know, maybe there's a trance remix of the podcast theme that needs to occur that just has you saying that on a loop in the background.
Yeah, I agree with that. What it actually is, it's a podcast called Question Box, in which they ask probing personal questions of the sort that are a bit more probing and personal than you might find on other podcasts. And there are points awarded if you answer them, and there are points deducted if you don't. And I am guest host this time, and normally they have a guest on who answers the questions, but this time I'm going to be asking the questions of both of the presenters, and that's going to be coming out in... Oh, heck. Well... frankly, I thought it was coming out on the 20th, but that's tomorrow. So I guess Brent or Kate are going to do some extremely fast editing, and that may just simply be something they ordinarily do, and I'm just impressed.
It could be, yeah. It could be that they're competent.
It could be, and I accept that, in contrast to myself, who it takes, 2 weeks to edit a 2-hour-long, or less, preferably, podcast.
I'm awful at podcast editing. I really shouldn't be allowed.
I'm very good at it, but it takes me a long time. That's the problem. And I suppose it depends on what you mean by very good at it. But I do think I'm very good at it. But yes, it takes me a long time. So perhaps I ought to settle for lower quality and taking up less of my life. But then what else am I doing these days?
It's auto-tuning each individual word, so it sounds like the people who on your podcast are singing a song about Sonic the Hedgehog. I think that is where you're going wrong.
I mean, almost. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this, but in time for an episode at the end of this week, I am trying to learn to make Mega Drive music. We'll see how that goes.
Well, I think we're at it because it's 10:58 here in Los Angeles, which means it's nearing 6 o'clock. You have to go and be another type of person out in the world.
He means 7. But yes, that's exactly what I have to do. I have to go and be a rude, probing person.
Yeah. Well, the Doctor is failing in his mission. The Doctor tries to escape, and the Dalek just flat out murders him. But it's okay because it wasn't actually murder; it was a stun. That's how they get around that. The Doctor didn't die. He always gets another try.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
And he's just thinking, if I could just, and that's it. He doesn't get any further in his plan.
There we go. Bum. All right. Well, this has been delightful. I will imagine we're going to call it there. I'm available on the social medias, mostly Twitter and Instagram. I'm at Ben Paddon.
I'm available on Twitter as @DemonTomatoDave, and you can hear my other podcast, Sonic the Comic, the podcast, by looking for it, and also my other podcast, Serious Disney. I don't know why I called the first one my other podcast. It was the first podcast I mentioned. How about your podcast?
I am the GM of a Doctor Who role-playing game actual play podcast called The Game of Rassilon. If you like Doctor Who and podcasts like Dungeons and Daddies or Not Another D&D podcast or The Adventure Zone, it's kind of that. We're playing the Doctor Who role-playing game, and it's a tremendous amount of fun. And I know that Dave, you've done trends like these a couple of times. Riley Silverman, who's also done trends like these, she plays our Doctor on that podcast.
Oh, when did Riley do trends like these? Remind me.
She did it with Courtney a year or two ago. I can't remember the specific, but she's also...
that was Riley. I remember. I remember very well.
Yeah.
That was some sort of ladies special or something.
Yeah. It was girls' night. Girls' night.
That's
I can't
the sort
English
of phrase
anymore.
I'm looking for. Yeah.
Yeah.
Be a winner at the game of Rassilon.
Yes.
It's for the game of life.
Yes.
It doesn't really fit the
It doesn't scan. Vassalon doesn't scan with a lot of things, except Keep Calm and Vassalon. But we're not the first podcast who said that.
No, I can imagine.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and click that big old stop streaming button.
All right,
Dave. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's been good.
You and I normally chat for like 20 to 30 minutes after these things, but you've got a podcast to go to, so this is it.
That's it. I'm simply not going to see you for another, I don't know, week or more.
We'll do another one of these.
The answer. I don't care about the answer. I know. I'll see you one day.
Eventually.
Doesn't really matter, does it? Yeah. Time stretches ever on.
Yeah.
And we'll bump into one another at some point, possibly next Sunday.
All right. Well, this has been fun. Thank you for watching me be very bad at two very old, terrible licensed games.
I mean, it's not for the first and won't be for the last time.
And I'm going to go ahead and click the button. If you've been watching, thank you for doing so. If you haven't been watching, how are you listening to this?
Bye.